The next Football Manager has finally been announced, sort of. There's some good news. We'll get to it. Let's go have a look at what's been going on in the world of Football Manager updates. We are waiting. It's been quiet. We've been waiting a long time. So the other day I asked you guys, when do you think we would hear more about the next Football Manager game? And a lot of you are pretty pessimistic. Now, I'm not going to count this as hearing more about the game because it's kind of a little bit... I would have assumed, though, that people would have thought it was coming out. And some people said if it was an option on this poll, they would have answered never. But this month, which is June, which we've only got, 9 days left now, July, August, or September or later. A lot of you said September or later, so I went and did another poll. Then loads of you said, quite a few of you then said August or earlier. If you add them up, of course, that probably adds up. But a lot of you think it's going to be in September, October when we next hear about it. I think that's probably about right for when we're going to get the big news as to what the features are and how they work and stuff. I think that's normally about when we hear. November or later, I think it's probably going to be too late. 20% of you said no, which I think is wild. But some of you said you think that they're going to make them drop the game. The game has gone from like less than 1 million players to over 17 million. In fact, we can actually see now how many players they have got on the latest versions. And, even if they miss a year, the game has grown so much. It's a weird one because for a yearly release, missing a year is massive. But for many games, a year's delay, it's bad. But GTA is the obvious example. That's been in production for 10, 15 years now. So that's been in production for a long time. I think it came out about the same time as the PS4, 2011, 2012, maybe 2012. So yeah, you think how long we've been waiting for GTA 5 and then they've just delayed that pretty much another year. So many games get delays like this. Obviously, they're switching to the new Unity engine. We know they're switching to that new Unity engine. We don't know much about it. We know that there's some people went and tested the game back in January. So it was in enough as a state to have people there playing the game. Now, I don't know if they're making changes based on people's feedback or based on a licensing issue or based on something Sega said. A delay is not good. None of us like the delay. It means we didn't get a game this year, which sucks. I would have loved to have played a new game. I can't wait for the new game. I hope it's going to be good. It could be a mess. It could be a disaster. I hope it's not. That doesn't mean I think it's not going to be. I hope it's not going to be. So we could see the new game. So you got to think it must have been at some state, especially with the early delay as well. I agree with people who say taking pre-orders is bad or they did refund all the pre-orders. I don't know where the responsibility lies there, whether it's with Sports Interactive, whether it's with Sega, whether there's just a miscommunication between the two and they didn't get it out to the fans earlier. I don't know how many people actually pre-order. I'm going to tell you now, don't pre-order games. Never pre-order games until you know what they're like. Wait for the reviews, especially this next Football Manager. I really like the people who work at Sports Interactive. I think they make a great game. Rarely have they slipped up with a Football Manager game. There's one or two ones which haven't been great, which have been a bit buggy. But overall, they're a pretty good studio. Still don't pre-order games. Never pre-order games. And I know that's a lot of games companies rely on that. But as a consumer, you got to put your foot down. Wait for it to come out. You can get it. You can get it at 12:01 on, I don't know what date it comes out. 15th of November with the early access, probably around then, I'd imagine. And that's it. So, loads of you said never. I don't think it's going to be never. Some of you said you think that Sega would drop them. I can't see that happening. The license might go somewhere else. I can't see that happening. Sports Interactive is an absolutely massive studio now. I know the games industry is very fickle and they drop a lot of people, but I just couldn't see that happening. Well, over in the Sega Management meeting today, we got a bit of extra news. Now, I have also got a little bit of other news later on that I want to talk about, which relates to the other game of theirs, which is on here. Actually, we'll talk about it as it comes up. So they're talking about the group vision and things like this. Is for investors, so for the management, but we can scroll down past most of this. You can see how many of their employees work on pachinko machines, which is really interesting. Entertainment, contents, and gaming. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, Sports Interactive is, of course, a subsidiary of Sega. They don't really have another subsidiary who would be capable of doing it, I don't imagine. But yeah, the stock price is... the stock price... I'll tell you what, the stock price of Sega, they're around the same time every year it dips. I'm not giving you stock advice, but just something I noticed. It was kind of odd. Anyway, let's go down to find the important part. Empower the Gamers is interesting, right? is like an interesting approach. So regrowth of European business, and the two pillars on this are Football Manager and Total War. Investments to strengthen development and production capabilities, pillars, legacy IPs, super game, animation IPs. But underneath that, Football Manager is the European business, and Total War, which I think is also like a series that's had its ups and downs over time. This is their projections. And right here, review of previous fiscal year qualitatives. So we have like the ones that did well. So things like Sonic Shadow Generations. We have Metaphor on there. We have Like a Yakuza Pirate. The stuff that they put out on other platforms. So Like a Dragon Yakuza on Amazon Prime. They put Sonic, of course, the movie out, and the Sonic Stadium, Sega licensing, etc. And a reform of the way the Total War Relic Studios are working. 2 free-to-play titles did not work out. So Sonic Rumble and Persona 5, according to this. And the cancellation of development of Football Manager 2025, which of course we all know about. So here's their global IP, starting with Sonic. I don't think we're going to be seeing Sonic in Football Manager, so we're going to skip past Sonic. There we go. Unit sales of major IPs. So full game channel expansion of Foot Manager. So they're looking at how they can expand Foot Manager, expanding Foot Manager to more platforms. Now, this is actually wrong, I noticed. So Foot Manager 2023 and I believe Foot Manager 2022 were both on Xbox Game Pass. It also doesn't give the Amazon one on there. And interesting, it also doesn't have Stadia. I'm pretty sure it came out on Stadia, and Nintendo Switch is on there, which is interesting. But I wonder whether, yeah, okay, sorry, it does say about the Stadia at the bottom here, but I'm pretty sure 22 and 23 were on Game Pass. Maybe not at launch. 23 I think was at launch, but here we go. 2024, you can see how many platforms they have, and existing player base through deployment, multiple subscription service, and the total number of mobile players is exceeded 17 million. So that is up a long way from pre-pandemic 2019. Going back to around 2015, they were probably, I think they were looking at like sub 15. But this is the important bit here. Full game medium term pipeline. So this is September 2025, Sega Racing Crossworlds, June 2025, Rider Remastered, and Football Manager in full 2025. Plan to release several titles, including titles compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. So I'd imagine Football Manager will also be a Switch 2 title. So full 2025, which sort of puts us tail end of August, probably September if we go by like global, what we consider autumn, through to, I think, is it 21st of December, I think is like the day in December when it becomes winter, right? So Foot Manager 2025, sorry, Foot Manager, no 26 or 25 on there yet. So it's not really an announcement quite, but we know it exists and it's still planned and it's there. It's on their release schedule. Now, some other things they're looking at is emerging countries, China, Latin America, Southeast Asia. I mean, we know, we've seen Football Manager has been, this is not specifically Football Manager, but we know Football Manager has been massive in Southeast Asia, countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, etc. in recent years. Now, down here, we also have Sega Football Club Champions. Interestingly, it does mention J-League and K-League licenses and the FIFA Pro license down here. And also Adidas Japan, which is interesting. So that is there, and Manchester City. That is down there. Now, something I wanted to point out for that Sega Club Champions is they have actually postponed the beta. They've, we've read a great deal of comments from fans. Something really interesting about that, and if you've seen the other game, is not Football Manager. If you want to see why it's powered by Football Manager, go check out my other videos. Essentially, it's using the database. The last game was also powered by Foot Manager, so it's not something new. It's not something that they are taking away from Foot Manager in some way. It's a completely different series called Let's Build a Soccer Club, or it's got this new name, Sega Football Club Champions 2025 in the West. They've pushed it back, so they're going to test it some more and improve the quality of the game. Now, a lot of people were upset reading the comments because it was not like the old games of Let's Build a Soccer Club, and it was much more like a gacha free-to-play game. And fans of that old series are not happy about that, and you can imagine why. Imagine if they did that to Football Manager. So I wonder if that's where they're going to go back and tweak it, or how they're going to change it. I'm interested to see what they do with that game. But yeah, they've changed the beta, so the application period has been extended. They're going to announce they're going to re-announce a new beta at some point, and they're going to allow a number of people into the beta as well. So I'm curious what they're going to do with it and how they're going to change it. So postponement of the Let's Make a Campaign series. So that's kind of an interesting one. So coming back to the Sega Sammy post, we also see further down here on the initiatives at European studios, significant improvements of quality compared to previous titles in the series by taking over the development assets of Heaven 25. So they're going to be put into one scheduled to be released in fall 2025. So I've already seen people saying, even on the post about this, that they don't think it's going to happen. This is an investor meeting. They can't lie in these things. These things go to investors, right? They've got to be on it. Games Workshop as well, Total Warhammer on there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, previous title in the series, Football Manager 2024, surpassed 70 million. That's what we were just discussing. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Now, proactive use of dissemination opportunities. These are where they're going to go, or where they're going to be, or where they might be. They were, of course, at the Game Development Conference last year. I don't know which one it was. Now, of course, Summer Games Fest has just been and gone, and there was some Sega stuff, but they did not show Football Manager, even though they showed Sonic Racing, and there was no Football Manager character in Sonic Racing this time, which, if you've seen the previous Sonic and Sega Racing games, you'll know there was a Football Manager character at one point. The Anime Expo probably isn't where we're going to see Football Manager. Billy World probably isn't where we're going to see Football Manager. I think if we see Football Manager, Tokyo Game Show in September, or Gamescom in August, one of those two could be the big one for Football Manager. The Game Awards is going to be too late, I think. I don't think we see the Game Awards for Football Manager. So Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show, if it's shown off at a show, it might not be shown off at a show. But if it is shown, it's not normally shown off at a show. Normally they have a little stand, and that's about it. And one little thing I think we got to remember here is Football Manager never announced stuff this early. A lot of people are saying, why haven't they said anything? What's the silence? I don't think they should be silent. I think they should be saying something, showing something. But they've never done it this way. I think, other than the time that they announced the Premier League last summer and the time the summer before, when I don't even think it was June. I think it was July time. They announced that 24 and 2025 is going to be switching to Unity. And they sort of announced 24. And I think that's the only time we've heard something so early. Normally it's not until like close to September, around then. So it's really, really late. So that's something I think people need to bear in mind. Like, it's never this early. Maybe late July, autumn at most, August, at most, like early September, you start to get the features. You're never hearing anything in June. Like, that's a long build up to something that's probably not coming out till November. So yeah, I wouldn't expect to hear anything this soon, but we'll see. The Sega Sammy Management meeting, which went out 3 days ago, so this has taken a little while to leak out. I wonder if it is because the English one has only just come out. But here is the English translation. I mean, the rest of the document's got a whole load of stuff about gambling and gambling machines and pachinko machines, which is absolutely wild. But yeah, I think we could hear about something I think it's coming this year. I'm pretty confident now. It's like, unless they have another problem, which is possible. But the plan, I'd imagine, is they're not cancelled. Sports Interactive is still making it, as far as we can tell. It will be here very, very soon, I'm sure. It'll be here before we know it. So maybe you're not as optimistic as me. Let me know down in the comments below what you think, if you think it's on its way. So I'll just leave you with this little bit of an interview with Miles about the addition of animations when they took in the 3D match engine and how they were going to use the Virtual Striker animations in Foot Match, and that sort of like highlights to you how far they've come with the game. When we even was Virtual Striker, it must have been so long ago.
Influenced the way you guys work.
Yeah, absolutely. Asia was a place where other games came out. It wasn't a place where Football Manager came out. China's now one of our biggest territories. We've got a cult fan base in Japan. We've got a big fan base around the rest of Asia that we just, we wouldn't have had if it wasn't for working with Sega. But there've also been collaborations over the years as well. So when we took our match engine from 2D to 3D, we were able to turn around to the team working on Virtual Striker and say, hey, have you got any animations that we can use? And they came around to us and said, have you got any data that we can use? So he just did a bit of a swap.
I mean, that's kind of crazy to look back on now that they were looking for the animations from Virtual Striker. But it does sort of highlight to you that, yeah, Football Manager is a subsidiary of Sega. You've got to remember that. And like, at some point, like, Sega is the big boss at the top. They got shareholders. But I think we're going to hear about Football Manager soon. I'm hoping we hear about it soon. There's some rumors. I've seen some rumors. I don't know if they're true. There's some rumors. I've seen some rumors. Some people are suggesting next week. If you saw in this week's FM pod, we had 2 callers say there's something coming out in like 2 or 3 days. I don't know about that, but yeah, we'll cover it on this channel if that does happen. If you've seen anything or you've got any ideas of your own, put them down in the comments below. Otherwise, go check out these other. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to send you to this game here. It's called Des Pelote, and it's a game about the qualification of Ecuador in the 2002 World Cup, and you play as a person who's experiencing watching it. It's a bit mad, but I think it deserves your attention because it's a really, really cool game. Go check that out, and I will see you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.